You're a bit
Okay,
soft,
all right.
but it could be
Is
my
my
side.
voice all right?
Yeah, it's better.
Okay, okay, all right, good. All right, thanks. So, all right, so Wen Hao is online too. All right,
Yeah.
thanks, Wen Hao. So it's been the first week, I think, that I think is it the first week since Wen Hao joined us, or
Um,
the
might be the
second
second week.
the second week, right?
The
Okay.
second week.
Wow, it's been all time flies, but but I think that a lot of progress has been made. Yeah. So
Yeah.
thanks, Wen Hao. And okay, so I guess before Victory comes online, I'd like to ask Herman what regarding the reviewer, right? The feedbacks of the review.
Hmm.
Um, is there any, I guess, thoughts, feedback as to what to continue regarding research, or just continue with
Yeah.
the proposal for Victoria?
So I think it's going to be important to look at those papers and to work them into the what do you call it, the proposal, because I think it'll also be helpful to because then you can basically say this is how his work is in relation to the most recent work which has been published in 2020 or something like that. I suspect no one is doing spatial pub sub as we're envisioning it.
Okay.
But to be certain of that, we'll have to look at those papers. I mean, I had a brief glance at some of the abstracts, and I saw some of those papers refer to doing using the DHT for routing and storage and stuff like that. And
Right,
one of the
right.
things that I've seen is that the sorry, when how the DHT is the distributed hash table. It's a networking overlay that has been used in peer-to-peer networks for quite a while. But what I found with the DHT is that it's slower than advertised, if I can, if I can put it like that.
Okay, okay.
So I'm not always convinced that the using a DHT, if you want low latency, is gonna work. We found with John's work at least that yes, if you don't mind like a second or longer latency or delay, then that's okay. But if you want like millisecond response, then the DHT is not going to give you that. Well, that's been our response, our
All
our
right.
our, um, our
That's
experience
a
at
very
least.
good point. That's a good point. All right. Okay. So sorry, Victor. I was just asking for Herman's additional thoughts on the reviewer's feedback yesterday. Okay.
Oh, no, no
So
problem. No
so
problem.
I
Hey,
think
right.
just regarding this point, I'd like to add that this is also for your information. There is a DHT called Content Addressable Network, which Herman might
Yes.
know it. Okay, it's called
Yeah.
CAN. It's one of the major DHTs back then when when the like Chord and all that were popular. And I think the important thing regarding CAN is that it's actually spatial based. Okay,
Okay. Cool.
it's one of the only, I think, the major DHTs that actually use a a space, two-dimensional space to store and to query and to route data. Okay, so because I done comparison, analytically with CAN, and I think what we can, I mean, although this is not rigorously mathematically proven, but I suspect somehow Voronoi overlay or Voronoi forwarding routing will be more efficient than
Mm.
like CAN base, for example. And also it might be more robust in terms of you can always add or remove nodes at well. Okay.
Mm.
There may be specifics comparison that might, I mean, this requires more detailed comparison, but I guess there comparison can be made with regard to merits of different kind of partitioning and like like how you actually partition. But I think that is beyond the main point, which is uh, again, I like to bring back that the the distribution approach, the division approach, may be able to separate them, from the from the PubSub matching aspect and the spatial routing aspect. It might be possible to do that, and I think
cool.
that could be a more important contribution. Okay, in terms of getting this sort of get people to realize and do this in a more generalized way. Okay, so
Okay.
I guess that's a feedback. Okay, also for Victory. Okay.
All right.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, Victory. So go ahead. So please, yeah. What do they think?
Just gonna share my screen. So yeah, maybe you should maybe start with Wenhao, if that's okay. Wenhao, I don't. Hi. I don't know if you were able to add buttons to link to the two chat pages.
I already done.
No. Oh, okay.
I can show you the new version of the website.
Okay.
cool.
Please. Thanks.
Well, now you're super quick.
Yeah.
It lives the spirit of agile. That's the spirit.
Nice.
So it's I remove the buttons we don't need, and today I want to remove this part because we don't use this either, and
Cool.
right now we can sign in with Google, and then we can choose the function we want to use, like a friend list, and I switch the function of this button. So we can list neighbors here, and we can start chat with him. But right now it's fake. But I think the flow is correct, at least. Okay.
So right now, if you click a different person, will that go into a different chat?
Not yet, but I will.
Okay.
Yeah, I will
Okay, that will be the next step, right?
Yeah, that's next step.
Okay. Nice.
Nice.
And I write the highlights. I want to switch to another, and I can show you the new highlight I have right now.
Okay. So also in terms of the socket IO with Firebase, I'm not sure if you were able to look into that, as well as the key dates for the deliverables.
So your question is socket IO if can work with Firebase, or my understanding is we can use the Firebase Cloud Message. It's a service like Socket IO, but it's Firebase. It's a Firebase version. Okay. So it's a PubSub. It's another PubSub architecture with Firebase. So we don't need Socket IO. We use PubSub for the very early version of this chat app, and then we can switch it with the rest.
Okay. So I'm guessing that's the Google Cloud PubSub integration that you plan to use.
Firebase.
Firebase. Oh, okay.
Firebase. It's Firebase, but the Firebase is highly integrated with Google Cloud, so maybe it's the same, but has a different console we can configure.
Okay, nice. All right. Okay. Thanks. Yes, please. Thanks for that. Nice. All right. Thanks. I'll share my screen. First, I think the LaTeX is still giving me, I don't know, I think it's the software that's the problem. I'm trying to isolate the problem, but I'll sort that out. It's just a bit frustrating when you spend so much time on something and it doesn't work. So I'll sort that out. I started reading up on the MQTT protocol and some of the papers that were suggested. And I still noticed that, yes, they are related to our solution, but they are all still channel based. It's all topic based or channel based. And I think that might be our, not that might, that is our unique research. That's our unique feature. And maybe perhaps that is something that maybe it wasn't very loud enough in the paper or in the submission. And I was thinking it's probably something we can sort of, or should I say, I can sort of highlight in the writing next time. Also, like, it sort of works for IoTs. It was designed specifically for IoT devices. For example, yeah, this was, so another unique feature we have is, it's not just for IoTs. It should be for any device that has some form of spatial data, right? So for example, with the IoT stuff, it doesn't consider the spatial location of the data from what I gathered. I'm still looking into it, and in terms of scale, I don't know how accurate this is what they're saying, but I don't know if there's been any data like shown for this. But again, it's something I'm still looking into the papers as to the results that MQTT offers. But the keynote that I observed from just looking at it was that it's topic based, channel based, which is not what we're doing. It's just our work is an extension of that, and so it sort of brings the question as to if we're saying spatial pops up, maybe we should separate, which is what you suggested yesterday, I think, where there's the spatial content and the spatial routing, and I sort of put it as spatial data delivery as to there's the spatial data aspect, and then there's sort of the routing aspect. And I don't know, maybe we should, is there a way to sort of fuse that? This is just a question for everyone now. To sort of,
That's a great question, and I think we touched briefly about that yesterday. Ralph, what does Herman think about this?
Sorry, I missed that part. Can you just repeat it?
So at the moment, for example, I think our topic is spatial pops up, right? But challenge now is someone can look at that and think it's just spatial routing, and someone else can look
Yes.
at that and think it's just spatial data route, spatial content that's been routed. So it's very generic to a certain extent, even though it's exactly what we're doing. But there's a sense of we might have to find a way to highlight the two aspects of the spatial pops up, which is the spatial data as well as the spatial routing.
So I mean, we are definitely doing spatial data, right? So we are dealing with spatial data, but I think, yeah, maybe the thing that we're trying to say is that we shouldn't be handling spatial data in the same way as the channel-based data is being handled, and that because it is spatial data, it would be more efficient to handle, to also route it in a spatial manner. I don't know if that helps. So although you have spatial data and you can, I mean, it sounds to me like most of these other papers handle the spatial data, but just using the normal techniques. Although, I still also have to look at those papers. Maybe the aspect is to say, okay, but because we want low latency and because we know that the spatial data tends to be regionalized, it makes sense to also, handle the spatial data by using some kind of a spatial routing.
Okay.
Wow, nice. I like Herman's approach to explain this. It's logical. I mean, Victor, did you get that? I mean,
No, I get it absolutely.
okay, all right.
So
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 go ahead.
so basically that has to sort of be highlighted in the writing to a certain
Right,
extent.
sure. Yes,
Yeah.
the presentation. And what I'd like to feedback is, I think spatial pops up specifically deals with the content part, the spatial content, spatial data part. Okay, it actually doesn't say anything about spatial routing. Okay,
Okay.
I mean to be more exact and specific. Okay, I think spatial pops up. It should focus mainly on the content itself. You know, the type of data that's involved is spatially oriented. Okay,
Okay.
right? I mean, it's just like, you know, like behind a channel or topic base pops up, we can also use spatial routing, right? To realize that,
Yes.
right?
Exactly.
I mean, we talk
yeah.
about this, right? So
Yeah.
I think when we talk about pops up, it's more about the, you know, the data, the content, the definition, the interface. Okay. But then when we talk about how do we realize a scalable solution, a practical system approach to realize to support these functions, we believe current many existing approach, they still rely on the same old content-based approach. I mean, sorry, the
Yes.
channel-based approach, which
Topic-based,
may
yeah.
not be as efficient as Herman said. And spatial routing here may help, you know, dramatically. And we have to show that as well. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think actually, yes, there are two aspects. And just one more feedback. When I was looking at the MQTT, just hit me. I had an idea to share with you guys. Is that how about, you know, because MQTT, to my knowledge, it's really just a definition. You know, it's actually a protocol, an interface
Yes,
protocol.
that's true. Yeah,
If I
that is
recall
true, yeah.
correctly, like for example, like this particular, you know, HEAF MQ, it's actually a particular implementation of the MQTT protocol, you see?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think maybe that's the approach we can take as well, to separate the spatial PubSub protocol from the implementation, you see? And then we can even try to design it to look similar to how MQTT or maybe other PubSub protocol looks like.
Okay.
Do you see that?
Which means that
Oh,
anyone that
okay,
uses
okay,
MQTT can basically
Can
just
be,
slot in and
yes,
use
exactly, exactly. So this is a
Ah.
suggestion. This is an important way to build people's understanding, because a lot of the times, how do you communicate and allow people understand what you're doing is also important. And the best way is to reference something they already understand and know. Okay, so in that spirit, if we can try to design our particle like look very similar to MQTT, you know, almost as if it's sort of a spatial extension to MQTT, then we can talk about, you know, it's just MQTT, but for spatial data, right? Then people will
Yeah.
get the content part, right? And then how do we realize that? Well, we then explain,
That's fine.
utilize spatial routing based on, you know, Virtual lane partitioning and other things and forwarding, right? And all that.
Yeah.
But I think, yes, I think part of the confusion maybe the reviewer of the paper got is that they somehow they see we talk about both on the content part, but also on the routing part. And they may be confused, you know, as to which is which. Yeah. But if we can explain that, you know, for example, just example, if we have an interface that's supporting spatial PubSub, and we also have an implementation that does that, okay, then it might be more clear. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So just to clarify, then, so it's almost like we're saying we should try to focus on creating two different products to a certain extent, where one is like the library itself, which is, for example, MQTT. So maybe in this case, we're saying MQTT, the standard for spatial message.
Right,
And
exactly.
this is
It
like an extension.
actually would not be a library. It would be kind of like a protocol definition or standard kind of things.
A standard, yeah.
MQTT is a standard. Okay. But we can
Okay.
try to model it look like similar to how MQTT is being defined, for example.
And I'm not sure, but it looks like this is open source.
It is. I mean, it's
It
a
is, right?
standard. It's a
Yeah.
standard, so you can definitely find a definition for how MQTT communicates.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, see, there's MQTT specification, right?
Yeah.
And there are so the one reviewer mentioned distributed MQTT, and that was I think the paper of Thomas Kuhns or something like that. And that would actually be, so I think part of what the reviewer was trying to say is, how is this different from a distributed MQTT implementation?
Okay.
And it is a valid question.
Yeah. Yeah, I noticed that. I think the key difference is mostly the topic based, as well as maybe the management of nodes. We might, and I think I wrote that as well. The fact that we're using Voronoi management of nodes might need to be emphasized as well, as it is that management in theory is the best compared to everything else, and when I say best now, it's the most efficient. There has to be sort of some proof that it's more efficient than the general approach to managing, decentralized nodes, and which I think there's already results for that from the old papers. Yeah, okay. Me time. So this paper is wireframe development. I was playing around with this. This is probably more for Wenhao. So again, this is not necessarily a perfect or perfection per se, but it was just to sort of show a picture of what we want. Basically, you have something like that. Forgive the logo, I couldn't find a better icon, but for now it's like a placeholder. You have that, you have your login page, you sign in. This is optional to a certain extent. If, for example, they don't have an account, then it should take them to a sign up page. But for now, I don't know if it's important yet. I'm still thinking about the legal implications. So you want the name, the email, the phone. Here, I'm not really sure if we should add like interests or something. But there's like terms and conditions. And after they sign up, then it should sort of take them to the first page. Now, if you notice as well, this is like a phone screen, so I know that's a bit different on the web. But I'll show you an example of what the web, but it's more or less the same approach. And I think you already have something like this, where you sort of have your connect with your friends, maybe a search button to look for your friends, find contacts, suggestions for people that are nearby. And then maybe when you click on one of your names or something, one of your friends, this is what the chat list should look like. And then the chat page, there should be like a hamburger icon, and basically this hamburger icon should show what's about, settings, maybe log out. I'm still not sure. We might have to add some more stuff. I can't think of anything new for now. This was also an alternative. I think I forgot to add this part where you have friends, and then it shows what they are. But this is something for the future though. I don't think it works now because these are images. You want to see what they've been doing or what they're posting and stuff like that. And yeah, that's the chat. And when I think I've explained that. And then this is more or less the web version. So in this, I found this template online, but if you notice this, there's like media here. So that's more or less a future thing. So for now, we're just saying, you know what, you have your friend list here, you have your chat screen here, and maybe if someone clicks on the name, it shows the name of the person, the location, which is also similar to what's here. Where are you? Friend name and location, and whatever, the phone, email, all that stuff sort of comes here. We don't necessarily need the social media links, but basically something like this. And again, the hamburger icon, where you can see other options like settings, log out, about, privacy policy, stuff like that. But for now, we can just say about and log out. And yeah, I don't know if this makes sense. Is there any feedback on that?
Okay, so Wen Hao, you like to feedback? Are these doable? And
I think the design makes sense, and so we implement like this, or we just use the template I found for the very early version.
Yeah, we should use the template we found. There is, if you notice this, I didn't necessarily design it from scratch. Most of these things were templates, like from the libraries on this platform. But like it sort of contains basically the templates you already have. So at the moment, I think we have this screen, and I think this screen. Maybe even
Yeah.
some of this. Yeah, we have this as well. So I think the key addition here is maybe the hamburger menu and that. And if it's not gonna take time, like a sign up page, but if it's gonna take time, then there's no need. But when I say sign up, I mean in theory, I know that only comes up when you sign in with email or sign in with phone, and I know Google already does that. So this might not be necessary. And I also know, I think Firebase allows you to add terms and conditions link. I have to confirm that, but I think so. This might not be necessary now, the sign up page. And I know you already have that, and maybe even that, yeah. So it's just this is more or less the key addition. But the key information is, there's a friend name. And I think that's the important stuff. There's a friend name, there's a profile picture, and I think Google allows you to do that. You can sort of fetch the image from the profile picture, the name, the location, maybe a bit of bio. And now that I think about it, I don't know if you have that here in Xmind. User info, name, maybe something about. Can I add that here? Bio. But this,
okay,
I think,
a suggestion is to highlight which are the required red items for now and which are the nice to have blue items for later. Okay.
That's a
I
good
mean,
idea.
Okay.
is it possible to color these?
color.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Or somehow
familiar with
differentiate.
this.
Okay.
Okay.
So
No, I see
and
what you mean.
Make them
Okay.
bold or put a star next to them or something like that.
Oh, jeez. Okay. I'm just gonna. Okay. Can I do this?
do this later. Okay.
I can do this
But
later, right?
yeah, do this later as an item. Yeah,
I'll-
but
I'll-
maybe you can do the assignment and confirm today's task now. Right?
Okay. Also with a leader, I've sent an email again, and I think I sent her a message on Slack yesterday. I'm just waiting for her response. In
I'm
terms
chatting-
of,
I'm chatting to her this afternoon.
okay. But yeah, I sent her an email. I hope maybe she will get back together. I'll get in touch with her hopefully when she gets back. But yeah, in terms of what's next, for me, I think the key work is to read up the papers and thesis. With Wenhao, you did say it's possible that when you click on chat with friend should link to the friend in the list, right? I'm trying to see how to write that down. Click. And you did say you were going to remove I'm just gonna call it gibberish. I spell that right. From sign in page. What else? Did I miss anything? And I need to update XMind map for key features. All right. I don't know if I missed anything there.
All right.
Do you want access to this? When, how? I don't know if it's necessary.
Probably.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay. Okay, I will export. I have to create them as screens, but I will export and share with you. Okay.
Cool. I see my boss is phoning me, so I'm just gonna leave. But yeah, I
Okay.
think if that wireframe is finished, I think that's key for now to be able to continue.
All right.
Cool. Speak to
All
you
right,
guys on
thanks,
Monday.
Armin. Yes. So, all right, thanks,
All right.
Armin. Yeah, talk to
Thanks,
you next Monday.
Sherman.
So, Victory, just a quick feedback. On the reading part, it's also probably necessary to also specify what your output would be. Okay, I
Okay.
mean, the task is not just an effort, but also what results you're expecting from the reading of the papers, right? For
Okay.
example, whether you will come up with ways to explain, right, about or
Okay.
how to relate to that, even in bullet points, right, to sort of clarify how to relate it to related work.
Okay.
Okay.
I think I have an idea.
Do you see what I'm trying to say? I mean,
Yes.
always try to make an item with a specific output. Okay.
Reviewed summary. Basically, that will go into the report, and thesis to help identify best to understand best JS. Structure. What else? This is with drafting. This is structure. All right. Does that make sense?
Okay. Okay. Yeah. All right. So, which is the most important? Again, having one red item.
All right. I'm gonna make this blue. And
Okay,
yeah.
that's good. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Okay.
Um,
So I guess is it okay now? I mean, Victory.
Yes. Yeah, it is. I don't know if I missed anything when how.
Okay, and have to confirm with how too.
Yeah.
Okay, it's okay.
Okay. All right. So for Wenhao, maybe to chat, right? As the next feature, right? To chat directly. All right. So if nothing else, then we will sync on Monday then, right?
Monday. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So
Thanks so much.
good job and thanks, Victory.
Everyone.
Yeah, try to I think think about the MQTT definition part analogy as well. Okay, I mean,
Okay.
I feel that would be a good way to define interface. Okay, but just keep that on the back of your mind. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So talk to you guys. Yeah. Next week.
All right.
Thanks.
Thanks everyone.
All right. Yeah. Thanks. All right.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye. Bye bye.
Bye bye.